There, is that a good picture?
Let me do it. Yes. Oh, it says you're live.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Whether you are joining us from Facebook or from YouTube, good morning. My phone is being a little bit crazy, so I'm not sure how it's showing live. No. Don't do that. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Get everybody joining us here. My phone is being funky, like all of the, 1 second. I think it was because, there we go. Brightness of the screen. It's on my end. I don't think it was on anybody else's end. I think that's because I don't like my screen to be like crazy bright in the middle of the night. Anyways, good morning and welcome to this Monday morning edition of our Monday video. I'm Melissa Nielsen, Fold Up Essentials. Today we're going to talk about stop being afraid of the curriculum. And you could substitute stop being angry at the curriculum. Stop being and I want to back up and say, I say that, and there was a time when I was in that space. So I feel like I have a little bit of authority when it comes to talking about this. And I know I take some heat about this from some people, but I'm just going to say, I don't care. I feel like I've been at this a long time. I have taken 4 children myself through the curriculum, helped thousands of families take their children through the curriculum, and not had one family come back and say, I regretted it. Not one. Now, probably now I'm going to get like 1,000 families come back and tell me that they regretted it, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Usually the comments I get were, wow, I didn't know that, and I learned a lot, or thank you for making me, not making me, but thank you for encouraging me to go through it this way. I also want to say that when it comes to objections about the curriculum, I get the exact same, and I'm talking about religious objections to the curriculum. I get the exact same objections from very conservative Christians, all on one side of the spectrum, and from non-religious people that don't want to talk about religion at all. The exact same. Like the emails could be exactly the same, and you wouldn't know it. And I think it would surprise both ends of the spectrum to know that. And so I want to start off by saying that, because I think that we think that our objections to things are so unique, and we think that our reason for doing things are so unique, and they're not. We live in a time where we really have to work on tolerance of each other. And filming this in 2018, we've had a lot of tumultuousness on Facebook, in the media, in the world at large, everywhere. So this is a time for this curriculum. It's always been a time for the curriculum, but this especially, when it comes to being tolerant of one another and understanding one another. You really cannot gain love, respect, tolerance for somebody until you understand them. And so in order to understand them, you have to immerse yourself in sort of what they believe and be able to really understand it from their perspective. So the two grades that I get the most pushback on from parents is grade 3 and also grade 6. So in grade 3, we it's traditional in Waldorf to do the Old Testament stories, Torah, and live a Jewish year and really understand Jewish families and live like the Jewish year. In 6th grade, we learn about Rome and all of the conquering that Rome did. And most people are fine with that. But then when we start talking about the life of Christ, I get a little frustrated. Or the life of Muhammad, we also have people get frustrated. So I want to really unpack that for you. And like I said, I want to start by saying that the first time I taught the Waldorf curriculum, to a third grader. I was not a Christian. I was not Jewish. I was practicing pagan who openly despised Christians. Openly. In fact, I had many friends that were Christian, and they just loved me through it. They knew who I was. They loved me, and they knew that at my heart and at my core, I was not this angry person that I was showing up as. And so I had a lot of angst and frustration, and really for not, there are people that have been harmed by things within their faith of their childhood. I was not harmed by it. I just really disagreed with it and was really in a very angry place about it. And with that, I also was, this huge student of Steiner, had read a ton of Steiner at the time. And I just thought, all right, I'm just going to follow it because I feel like this is, this is a good curriculum. I felt I had already seen the fruits of it in my home with everything else. We had gotten through the grade 2 saints and hero stuff, and I was able to get through the saints parts. And we get some, I do get some objections about that part of the curriculum as well, but really our focus is the 3rd and 6th grade curriculum. But this could apply to everything. But I had gotten through those parts. I had gotten through good morning. I've got people saying good morning to me on the Facebook thread. So good morning to Facebook and good morning to YouTube as well. So I had a foundation where I knew that it was working. I knew these principles were alive and it worked in my home. And I really felt like I was just going to trust. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I decided I was going to trust. So the very first time we taught the grade 3 Old Testament stories, I used Roy Wilkinson's Old Testament stories, and it worked well for us at the time. I think that's a good resource. I really, 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 in years since, we've used the Jacob Strait books as a resource. More esoteric, and Roy Wilkinson was too. They're both Waldorf authors, and so it very much gave that flair to it. So in teaching those stories the first time, I just told them and I explained to my children, because like I said, we were not Christian at the time or Jewish. And so this was not the story of what I felt like was my people. But I told my son, these are the stories of this group of people. And this is how they understand the world. And so that's how I would frame it if you are not a Christian or a Jew. I think that it's a very, you don't have to teach them as truth if they're not your truth, but they are the truth of a people. And so I often, the biggest objection I get is, I don't want to teach these as history because I don't believe this history. It's okay that you don't believe that history. That's not the point. The point is that it's the history of a people. And when we're seeking to understand people and understand each other, we need to understand the history of these people. We need to understand why they do what they do and really get it. And in order to really get it, we need to do more than watch the news or read, stories about them. We need to read why they do what they do. So you have to really immerse yourself in understanding it. You have to really immerse yourself in understanding their stories. And I want you, if you're really struggling with this, I want you to really step back and ask yourself, what would I tell somebody about myself? Like, how would I get somebody to understand what I believe and why? Would they be able to understand it just by me explaining it? Or would it be better if they could believe what I believe, or at least understand what I believe? And in order to really understand what I believe, they have to immerse themselves in what my belief system is. They have to really be able to understand it. So it's sort of like, and this is a very broad generalization or a very broad description. If you only rode a bicycle, like you had to understand about cars because, you know, they're everywhere. And a lot of people believe in using those over bicycles. And so in order to do your due diligence as a bicyclist, you feel like, oh, well, I probably ought to at least know something about cars. So you can read about cars and you can ask people that drive cars about their car. And you can sort of look at their feet while they're driving and go, well, what does that pedal do? What does this pedal do? And what does the stick thing in the middle do? You can ask them those questions. But you really aren't going to know anything about driving a dang car unless you get behind the wheel. It's just not going to happen otherwise. You're going to have information about a car. You're going to sort of know maybe why people like it or dislike it. You're going to sort of have an understanding of the expense of putting gas in it every day or keeping it clean. You're going to sort of know, just based on what people tell you. But until you actually drive a car, have to put gas in it, have to pay for the oil change, have to do all of those things, you're not going to really understand what it's like to have a car. It's just not possible. And so I really believe that we're talking about the same thing here. In order to really understand the life and appreciate what Jewish families know and what they believe, you have to immerse yourself in their culture. And so my suggestion to you is to find a Jewish friend and ask to go to Shabbat with them. Ask to, especially if they have a large gathering at their home, ask to attend. Ask to get a full understanding about why they do what they do with, you know, I have a friend that is a Orthodox Jewish person. Our family is an amazing family. I got to visit them last year, and I got to be there during that time when they keep certain lights on, like the bathroom light is always on during that time, during that 24 hours. And there are certain lights that are always on, you know, so that you can still use the restroom and things like that. But everything else is, you know, is kept on. They use candles. I had, it was so wonderful because in staying there, she said, oh, you know, we don't expect you to do what we do. And I said, no, I'm here I want to experience it. And so part of that was having like no internet access for a portion of that time. And it was a beautiful, amazing experience to be with this family and to really understand them. So I really encourage you to find some Jewish friends. If you don't have some already, you probably have some. You may not know it. One of the things that I find completely amazing once you really immerse yourself is things tend to stop being so weird. Things that you didn't understand, now you understand. So you can look at it with a completely different lens because not only do you understand the why, you understand like what's behind all of that. And so to really, really gain a true sense, you have to understand their stories and understand their culture. And I completely get it if you're like, hey, but this is not my reality. That's okay. That's okay. Because we want to raise children that understand other people's reality. That's how we gain tolerance. That's how we learn about each other. That's how we understand the heart of our neighbor, is by really understanding what it is that they believe. The same goes for the Christian section in grade 6, the life of Christ. And the same goes for the life of Muhammad. You have to understand. That means you don't, you can't read about the Torah or the Quran or the Bible. You have to read the Bible. You have to read the Quran. You have to read the Torah. You have to understand those pieces. And so that comes from like deciding, okay, this may not be what I believe, but I'm going to figure out why people are like so Jesus happy. I'm going to figure out why people find Islam so, attractive. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find it out. And you have to be completely secure in yourself and in your own understanding, but then open at the same time. Absolutely open to learning something new, understanding something new, and really being able to take hold of it. Now, I have a lot of people that say to me, I just think my 9-year-old is too young to understand these stories, and they're horrible stories. Like, why would I tell anybody about these stories in the Old Testament? And so I chuckle and I go, we have to sort of unpack that And you can use versions that that I wouldn't say sugarcoat, but are very like the way the story is told is a beautiful way. I would also recommend that you don't shy away from reading the actual text as well. So my children read the Old Testament and understand the difference between the Old Testament and the Torah in grade 3. In grade 5, they read the Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of Buddha, because that's part of grade 5. And it's part of like really understanding. If I'm going to understand the heart of a Buddhist, I need to understand exactly what they believe and why. And that's more than just me learning about Buddha and his where he grew up and how he grew up. It's about me actually understanding what he wrote and some of the things that that are beliefs of that system. It's about me really understanding that. And then in the 6th grade, you understand Christianity from the perspective of the Romans, and you understand Christianity from the perspective of the Jewish people that became the first followers of Christ. And in order to really gain a sense of what your Christian friends believe, you gotta read what they believe. You have to read not about it, you have to read it. And your children, if you're trying to raise your children in a different faith tradition, that doesn't mean they're going to like run hook, line, and sinker to this other faith. Trust me, I've been through it. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. What it does is it gives you an appreciation. If you are strong in the base that you have, whether it be a Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, pagan, or even atheist space, if you feel like you have trained your children well and taught them well in the culture and value and beliefs in your home, they are not going to be swayed. They are going to be interested, amused, excited about learning about their neighbors and their friends that they know. Because I guarantee you, in your child's life, they're going to come across Christians and pagans and Muslims and Hindus. They're going to come across them. And as a mother, I kind of want my kids to not look ignorant when they do it. So that means I have to not be ignorant when it comes to understanding that. I have to not be afraid, frustrated, angry at those faiths. I have to understand and show tolerance. So if we're in this game about teaching our kids tolerance and teaching our kids to love one another, which I don't know the root of any religion that doesn't teach people to love each other. If we're going to teach that, then we have to understand. We have to know. And in order to do that, we have to study. We have to become comfortable enough to be able to really understand and to be able to shed, especially the 6th grade curriculum. And you can definitely do this with the 3rd graders too and say, well, we don't think that this here actually happened, or whatever it is that you feel good about. I would never say to my children as a Christian or non-Christian that the flood did or didn't happen the way it's written in scripture. But what I would point out is, there's a lot of cultures with flood stories. And over the next few years, we're going to learn about other cultures that have flood stories. You can leave it at that. Or you can leave it as, yes, we absolutely believe that this happened and that God cleansed the earth and that this is how it went down. You can use either one, whatever works for you. Like, tell the story. Tell the story. It's just a story. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be angry at it. Don't be frustrated at it. It's just a story, but it's a story that is immensely important to some people. Just like the life of Christ is immensely important to some people. And so I want you to step back today, if you're really struggling with some of these aspects, and really unpack for yourself, why am I mad at this? Why am I struggling with this? Why is this something that makes me feel yucky? Why is this something that makes me frustrated? And take some time with some of our podcasts. We have, and Kelly's going to drop the podcast link here in the thread on Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, and actually, I'll just say it either place, melissanielsen.com/podcasts is our podcast link that has, we have podcasts on each grade of the curriculum. So I would hop over there. I would listen to some of them, especially if you're struggling with some of these years, and take the time. If you're planning for next year, this is the time to figure out why you're struggling with it right now, because this is the time to really be working on, you're going to be learning the curriculum over the next month or so, I hope. I hope you're doing planning with us. Even if you're not, if you're listening to this and you're not planning with us, or it's not like right now, it's May, it's later down the road. Obviously, I hope that that you'll do your planning, do your due diligence about planning and learning and understanding the curriculum, and really get into the stories, and you will be surprised. Is all I can say. If you have been angry or frustrated or not wanting to even delve into these things, you will be surprised at the threads of humanity that are the same in all faiths. All of us just want us to grow up and be happy human beings and be good human beings and to contribute to society. Everybody, all of us moms have the same goal. So to really understand the heart of another mom makes you a better mom. It makes you a stronger mom. It makes you stronger for your kids. Makes you stronger for people around you, and it allows you to be able to stand up for that friend maybe that doesn't understand or doesn't doesn't really get it. It allows you to stand up and say, wait a minute, there's stuff that you don't understand. So when Eric and I were writing the grade 6 curriculum, we had close friends say, why would you write about Islam? We're like, because it's a lot of people on this planet that are Muslim. That's why we would write about Islam. And I've had people write me and say, I can teach everything in this curriculum, but I can't teach that. I go, why would you not teach that? Why would you not teach your children the heart of a Muslim and understand the Quran? Just because, and I know there's a lot of Americans that have to unpack a lot of stuff about this. And it's been a long time since 9/11. And it's about understanding that, the acts of a few people does not, by any stretch, the acts of a few people does not speak for millions of people. And we have to remember that when it comes to any time that we feel like we've been wronged or hurt or frustrated by a person, their religion, whether it be a Muslim or a Christian, or somebody who's Jewish, or even somebody who's pagan or atheist. Honestly, you have to unpack it and go, okay, something went awry there, but I want to understand what the truth is that of their texts are. I want to read it and I want to get it. So, I really encourage you, if you've never picked up a religious text of another faith, pick it up. Don't be afraid of it. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to hopefully warm your heart, show your strength, help you to really understand that we are all in this world soup together, that we all have different beliefs, and that we all have different things that we come to present with every day. And to understand the heart of why somebody else does what they do is golden. And it helps you to really become part of this great human circle that we all are. To really understand each other is an amazing thing. So, does anybody have any questions over there, Daddy-O? No questions and comments on the YouTube side? All right. That was my topic for today. Really just don't want you to be afraid and don't want you to be mad at it. I feel like there's plenty of other things to be mad at or afraid of. Don't let it be that. Really take the time to dive in and to understand and to do what you would want your children to do. Do you want to give that bias to your kids? Because I have to tell you, I did for a long time. I was that nasty heckler for a lot of years. And I can remember when my son said to me, why do we hate Christians? I was like, what? Why would you ask me that? Oh, that's right. I do teach that. Out of the mouths of babes. And I was not a hateful person. But goodness, I could sure get on one if you start talking to me about Christians. Why? Because like I said, I wasn't harmed by it. I went to Catholic school as a kid, but I wasn't harmed by it. I just didn't believe in it. It was because I had in my head that I really thought that I was right. And why would I teach something else? Why would I not want to be right? And so I ate a lot of crow for my kids and said, we don't hate them. We don't hate anybody. And I was wrong. And we're going to learn about these people, and they're our friends. They're going to be our friends. And I want you to be able to understand your friends. And I want you to be able to understand your, the people that you walk with every day. So how does that translate out when they're adults? So I have 2.9 children that are adults. Eleanor will be an adult in about, what did we say? 7 months or so. 7 months. 7 months or so. She thinks she's an adult now. So how does that present? Well, so my oldest son, when he did serve a mission for our church, I later became a Christian again. We're an active Mormon family. He served a mission for our church. And one thing that it really helped him is he said to me, Mom, I really appreciated the fact that when I met people that were not of our culture, that I understood them. And I could say things and excuse me, and I could talk to them about the stories that were part of their culture, that I understood them, and their face would light up because I actually knew something. And they were really surprised that this American boy knew his stuff. And so he had a lot of really good experiences because of that. And my second son, who I don't always agree with, but I love tremendously, he has had several instances where his way of thinking has like caused him pause, because he's like, oh, wait a minute, that's not what Mom taught us. Mom taught us to love everybody. And so he's had several instances where he's had to check his bias, and in a good way. My daughter, she is like a crusader for I'll hear her, she'll be like, don't say that, that's racist, or don't say that, and it's not like it's overtly, it's just, she's like, I think that might be prejudice, don't you think? And so she is one for like unpacking it all the time, because she understands, because we've raised them to understand these other cultures and to come to it from a place of love. And what's heartwarming to me is when you meet somebody that is, say, Jewish, or we have a good Hindu friend that's in our co-op, or Muslim, you understand them a bit, so you can shake their hand and be able to have a conversation with them that's about them, and you don't have so much like stuff that they have to explain to you, and understanding. And so you can talk to somebody. Oh, I know it's your month of fast right now. So how does that work for you and your family? How do you get through that? How does that? You can ask questions that sound intelligent. You can step into the light and take off the hate hat and the anger hat, and remind yourself that you are part of this amazing human seed, and that we all should love each other. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for everybody who watched, and for those of you who are watching on the download, again, if you are interested in some podcasts on the grades for Waldorf curriculum, it would be melissanielsen.com/podcasts. If you are watching and you're not a member of our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program, I'm going to encourage you to jump on over and check that out. From the perspective of, we teach all of this stuff. And one of the things that I do with the families that I work with is I really help them unpack the stuff that they're working on. I help them unpack the anger and the frustration, and helping people to see that it is people that harm us, not God or religion that harms us. And of course, it's those people acting upon that, but it's better to understand the core, the center, and then that's super helpful. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I know I'm going to. We're gonna have a great week this week. See y'all later. Bye now.